Rolling yet? Okay, there we go. Hey there, I'm Nick, and this is Thought Factory. I work in a factory, and my job can be boring at times, so I have lots of time to think of interesting things and come to conclusions from a unique perspective. I'll be discussing whatever's on my mind, no script, and I'll be defeating Bloons Tower Defense 5 levels during that. Come for the Bloons, stay for the commentary, hopefully anyway, until I learn to edit. Woo! Made it through that one. Almost didn't. I almost didn't make it through that intro, but we made it. Uh, yeah. So for anybody new here, I play Bloons Tower Defense 5, like in the description said, or like in the intro said, and I don't really talk too much about the game. I'm gonna make videos about the game in the future. I'm gonna make more strategy guides and stuff like that. I just don't feel like I'm that great at the game yet, and this is more just like me playing through it and then talking and doing commentary over top of it, and getting into all kinds of stuff that I care about. So you guys will get to know me. You'll get to watch some Bloons Tower Defense 5. At some point, you'll have some strategies that you'll be able to implement. I probably could talk a little bit about the game, but I want to be more of like an expert at it before I start giving anybody advice. I feel I feel like the more you guys are probably familiar with this. I think it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Dunning-Kruger, either Dunny or Dunning. I don't think I've ever actually seen it written out. I've only ever heard anybody say it. But it's when you start to get good at something, you start to realize how not good you are at it. Well, I'm going to pause the video to see if that's actually it. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it's something like that. Uh, I'll read you the brief description here. It's a bias in which people with limited competence in a particular domain overestimate their abilities. So it's actually the opposite of what I said. But the Dunning-Kruger, and it's Dunning-Kruger. It's actually two people. I didn't know that it was two people. Actually, 1 sec here. I had to check something out. It just made me realize that one of the names in there, I was familiar with somebody that I knew in my past had that last name, and I was like, what? I was like, is that like their dad or something like that? Because the Dunning-Kruger effect, it was only recently discovered in 1999, or that's when they came out with the theory, or whatever you want to call it. It's kind of, these things are sort of just things that people tend to observe, it seems like. I think that it actually kind of makes sense, right? Because it's like, if you notice, you guys will probably be familiar with a lot of these people in your life. It's like people will have a bias and they'll think they're an expert and they'll be like, oh, I could beat up everybody in this room. And it's like, dude, I don't even think you could beat me up. Never mind everybody in this room. I don't even think you could beat the smallest guy in this room up. It's like you got to get a grip on reality, right? But they don't really understand, and that's because of it's because of their own incompetence, right? They just don't understand what they don't know. And that leads them to overestimate their abilities. And that's a big problem for a lot of people. So anyway, I can't remember how the hell I got to that, but we are going to move in to something else here, because I like to do quotes. Where I was going with this, I was talking about me with this game is like, when I first started this, it took me 57 videos to beat Impoppable on the base map, Monkey Lane, and 57 attempts, but eventually I beat it. And then I've been running through the levels ever since. And I'm really glad that I spent the first 57 videos just trying to do that, because that was very helpful in my learning ability. So yeah, and I mean, learning how to make videos, learning how to set them up, learning how to talk, getting comfortable discussing things like I'm discussing them now, and just a free flow, free thought, going. You know. Now I've gotten to the point where I'd like to do. Okay. I'm gonna pause right there, and I'm just gonna say, if you guys like this type of stuff, subscribe. I'm giving 1,000 subscriber giveaway. I'm doing 1,000 at 1,000 subscribers. I'm doing a giveaway. I'm not exactly certain what it is yet, but I'm gonna be doing that. So if you guys are interested, subscribe. Uh, but I like to do quotes just about every video for the past like 5 or 6 videos I've been doing them. So, and I really like it because it gives me something to go off of. And today I actually have two. because one of the guy here who said these things, he actually died probably within the last year. I can't remember the exact date, but he's kind of a bit of a hero of mine. Most people are probably not too familiar with him. They've heard his protege, Warren Buffett, but it's his lesser known associate, Charlie Munger. And he said this: to get what you want, you have to deserve what you want. The world is not yet a crazy enough place to reward a whole bunch of undeserving people. And it's hard to comment on that because it's just so fucking true. Like, a lot of people like to say the things like, "Oh, I deserve this, I deserve that." It's like, I think you earn it, you know. And if you look up those words in the dictionary, because I've done this before, they're actually synonyms. But this is why different words have different meanings, right? Because even though they're synonyms and might be able to interchange them a little bit, definitely not the same fucking word, right? Somebody saying that they deserve something has like a connotation around it that's like they're high on their horse about it. I deserve this. Yeah, maybe you do. Maybe you do deserve it. But if you deserved it, then you would have it, right? So you must earn it. That's it's opinion. Maybe it's a hot take. Who knows? But I'm gonna hit you guys with another quote here real quick. Spend each day trying to be a little wiser than you were when you woke up. Day by day, and at the end of the day, if you live long enough, like most people, you will get out of life what you deserve. Whoa, it's another one. It's hard, you know? Deserve, earn, deserve, earn. Interesting. Words and definitions and how they relate to each other. I really like it, getting out the dictionary a lot of the time. I mean, I don't physically get the dictionary out anymore, but I do remember when I was a kid, we had an orange dictionary, and any word I could think of, or anyone in my family could think of, because I used to have words where I'd ask my parents about it. I'd be like, what is this? What does this mean? And I remember my dad a lot of the times would just say, go get the dictionary. And it actually had, somebody had colored on the cover with crayon. I think it was a purple crayon. It might have been blue. I'm colorblind, so can't tell the difference. But somebody actually colored on the cover with a crayon, and we used to flip it open, and you'd find the word, and it was almost always in there. And I used to kind of be blown away that people had already described these things before. So, as me discovering things as a child, getting very excited that people had cataloged this stuff. And then at one point, I remember I actually tried to sit down and read the whole dictionary, and that was much more difficult than I had anticipated, because I thought, well, can't you just sit and do things? And it's like, you can, but it's really hard to get yourself to do it if you're not interested in it. And you might be interested for the first couple of words, but it's like, I still don't remember what they were, right? Exposure. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to sit down and figure things out. So yeah, that's those are my two quotes for the day. Normally I only do one, but I did two for that one. These are the fun little things that I like learning about. And now I don't really have anything to talk about, so I'm going to go to my list of opinions that nobody asked for. I have a bunch of stuff written down on pieces of paper that I thought maybe somebody might care for. And one that I think applies here, because we're talking about Charlie Munger, is getting paid for your time. I've heard Jordan Peterson talk about this a little bit, and he talks about, like, you know, being young and how when you're young, your time is worth probably more than when you're old. And he says it's because it compounds. And I think that it's true, right? Because 1 hour spent when you're young, say learning to read, that's a skill, or doing math. Like, that's a skill that can carry you into the rest of your life. I actually don't really know how sentences go together well. Like, I'm not a very good writer. That's probably why I'm just free talking right now, right? Doing a basically just like I'm trying to think about what the hell that was called. They made us do this in school where you just wrote whatever you were thinking and you just wrote it out onto a piece of paper. And I always had a really easy time with that. And then when you tried to go back and edit it, I had an impossible time. And I'm not very good at putting the right words in the right sentences when you have to sit back and think about it, because then I can usually think about how to improve it over and over and over again. And I get stuck in an editing loop, and it's maybe it has something to do with maybe I'm a perfectionist. I don't know, but I like really try, and it's like, and then usually like if I come back the next day, I read it again, I go, shit, well, this sounds better if I what if I say it like this, and it's like then you can say something more concisely, right? And that's how I think you get people who say so much in so little words, is they just keep taking a sentence and going shorter and shorter and shorter. And then you get all this wisdom locked into this tiny little packet of information, and it's beautiful. I find that to be very, inspiring, that people can think so deeply that they can just simplify. Yeah, it's a lot of the times too, like in a lot of these quotes that I've read, uh the words are super simple, but the impact that you feel is very high. So, anyway, back to the point that I was trying to make, getting paid for your time. It's like a lot of time is going to be spent on not getting paid, and all the time that you aren't getting paid for stuff, you should be trying to do things that you either like enjoy. I'm telling people what to do. I don't mean to tell people what to do, but it's just generally this is how I think, uh at least how I live my life. It's doing things that I enjoy, or doing things that I think will provide me a positive return in the future. And a lot of the times I have turned a lot of the things that, uh they're the same thing for me a lot of the time. Like I work on a lot of projects, and I've tried to start like a ton of businesses ever since I was a little kid. And I've always been very business oriented, entrepreneurial, I guess one would say. Um a lot of the times I have failed miserably, and I've never actually been upset about failing. And a lot of the times I've gotten to the point where I'm like I'll so I had a business a little while ago that I was right on the verge of launching. And I keep getting closer and closer and closer, but I haven't actually fully launched one yet, right? Or well, I have, but it was a business that ended up failing anyway, but um and it was all my fault, by the way. It wasn't anybody else's fault other than my own. So, don't feel sorry for me either. It is what it is. You live and you learn, right? What else are you going to do? That's part of what's gotten me here, right? Making YouTube videos. It's not like the entrepreneurial aspect so much. I like to talk. So, this is fun, just discussing things. Like I said, if you guys like it, subscribe. That, giving 1,000 out of 1,000 subscribers are giving a giveaway. But I like just discussing things and getting my thoughts out in the air. And I'm not very good at putting them onto paper unless it's point form, and then I try to expand on it. So, there's a lot of time that you're going to spend in your life not getting paid for that time. And, you can utilize that time, or you can be distracted. And I find a lot of people tend to be distracted by, either like doing like what I'm doing here, playing this video game, or, watching TV, or, just doing things that aren't going to get them much further in their life. And, that's okay as long as they're like enjoying it, really. I mean, even if they're not enjoying it, it's still okay, because like everyone gets to choose what they do with their time. That goes back to a big point that I think it just rings out to me. It's like freedom of choice, right? You have freedom of expression, freedom of choice, freedom of thought, freedom of speech. There's a lot of just inherent freedoms that I think humans should have. And I think that's one of them, right? You free to you're free to do what you wish, and I mean, unless it affects somebody else and hurts them, right? That gets into questionable territory too, right? And I mean, even questionable territory in the sense of like, uh, if a parent chooses what their kid does, and you might not necessarily agree that it is a good choice, but it's their choice, right? And that parent, they made the kid, they have to try to protect them in whatever way that they decide. And sometimes, like, you know, I'll give you guys an example from my real life. Like, I I have my cousin, she didn't want to have her kid vaccinated. Like, not this isn't COVID vaccine. This is before COVID was ever a thing. This is probably maybe 5 or 10 years before COVID was ever a thing. And she she didn't want to have her kid vaccinated. There was a lot of scrutiny uh because of her choice to do that. And it's those people are allowed to scrutinize whoever they want. And she was also, I think she should be allowed to make that choice, right? Now, some people, especially scientifically minded people, which I am scientifically minded, tend to err on the side of like, well, the whole reason the vaccinations work are because of the herd immunity aspect, right? So, I mean, because you don't want measles and polio and all these other venereal diseases or immune diseases to come back and start to propagate in society again. That's like a serious concern, right? But at the same time, like, are we going to be taking away the choice of the parents? Like, it's just dicey territory to walk in, right? I don't like a lot of the answers to these questions are not easy, right? So, yeah, I'm not really sure what to do with that one. I don't really have a strong opinion on that one way or the other. I think that it's interesting to be swayed one way or the other on that one, but you know, I just say before the game ends here, because this round's gonna end pretty quick here, because this is on hard on Daffodil if anyone's listening. But I just want to say, be careful about how you guys spend your time. Be smart. I'll leave you guys there. Have a good day.